So what will be the effect of minors agreement? What will be the effects of minors agreement? Since the minors agreement is void ab initio, as there is no contract, so all the effect of the minors agreement must be worked out independently of any contract. Minors agreement is void, so effect of minors agreement must be seen independently of the contract. First thing it says is that there is no estoppel against minor. No estoppel does not apply against minor. Suppose that a minor by misrepresenting his age induces another to enter into an agreement with him, can he later set up the defense that this contract should be declared void since I am a minor? It has been finally settled that yes, minor can take the defense that I am a minor, I entered into a contract, so this contract is void. He can change his position. He is not stopped from taking the defense of minority, although he knew that he was a minor. Here, in simple words, we can say that he can take benefit of his own role. No estoppel against minor, for the simple reason that estoppel cannot apply against an statute. Simple reason is that estoppel cannot apply against statute. This policy of the law is to protect the interest of the minor. So this estoppel cannot be applied to defeat the purpose of the law. Estoppel is a law of evidence, rule of evidence. So this rule of evidence cannot negate a substantive law or law of the policy of the law. So the purpose of this law is to protect the policy of the law is to protect the interest of the minor, to safeguard his interest. So even if minor is taking undue benefit, he can still take the defense that he is a minor, and in that case estoppel will not apply against the minor. But minor can always plead in the case in which he is being made liable that he is a minor, he can take defense. So this contract will be void. But if the contract is for the benefit of the minor, and the contract is the nature of beneficial contract to the minor, then this contract may be enforced by the minor, even if he is the minor. That we will see later on. So first thing is that no estoppel against minor. Second aspect is no liability in contract or tort which is related to contract. Because if we enforce a tort which is related to contract, it will amount to an indirect way of enforcing the contract, with such contract which has already been declared void. So there is no liability under contract or anything which is related with the contract, any tort which has been related to the contract. This tort can also not be enforced. There is an English case, Jennings versus Randall. In this case, what happened? The infant, a minor, hired a horse for a short journey. There was a minor, he hired a horse for a short journey. He took the horse for a journey, but he took it for a longer journey compared to the agreement for which it was made. Agreement किया गया था थोड़ी दूर के लिए ले जाएंगे, but he took for a long journey, and consequent to this the horse was injured. Court held that the minor is not liable because the action will be founded in contract. If we in this case if we hold minor as liable, then it will be amounting to enforcing the contract against the minor. Contract is being void, it cannot be enforced against the minor. So the minor took the horse, there was a contract that he will take the horse for a short journey, he took for a comparatively longer journey, the horse was injured, court held that minor is not liable. Compared to this, there is another English case, Bernard versus Haggis, Burnard, Bernard versus Haggis. In this case, infant borrowed a mare for a riding only, his own riding only. He lent the mare to her friend, who jumped and killed her. Now see the difference. In this case, the minor has taken the hare for his own use, but he wrongfully lent it to her friend. Her friend, while riding the mare, jumped it from a high place and the hare died. Court held the minor liable on the ground that act resulting in injury or death to the mare was outside the contract. Here we are imposing the liability on minor because the act has no relation with the contract. The act which has been done under which the minor is being held liable, it is outside the scope of the contract. It is outside the scope of the contract. Contract was only that the minor will use the hare, he will ride on it, but what he did, he lent it to her friend, which was outside the scope of the contract. Her friend injured, jumped the hare from a high place, the hare was killed. So the court held that the act resulting was outside the contract. It has nothing to do with the contract. We are not enforcing the contract against the minor. Rather, the act is independent of the contract and therefore the minor will be liable. Now another related thing is doctrine of restitution. Doctrine of restitution means to return, to restitute. Under English law, this doctrine of restitution originated under English law in the famous English case Leslie versus Seal. This doctrine of restitution basically means that if a minor has, by misrepresenting his age, has got some unjust enrichment, then equity demands that he must restore such thing. If he has misrepresented his age, if I am a minor, I misrepresent my age, I say that I am a major, and I take some money or some goods from you, then equity demands that since I have wrongfully benefited my estate, so I must restore the benefit. So this is basically the concept of the doctrine of restitution. There is English case of Leslie versus Seal. In this case, an infant succeeded in deceiving a money lender by telling him a lie about his age, and so got him to lend some money on the faith of being an adult. Then the attempt to recover the amount was from the money lender, as well as damages for fraud, failed because of the propositions laid down in this Leslie versus Seal. In Leslie versus Seal, court laid down 3 propositions. First, it said that if an infant obtains property or goods by misrepresenting his age, if a minor obtains some tangible goods, some property by misrepresenting his age, he may be compelled to restore it. He may be compelled to restore it to the original owner. Condition is that so long as the same is traceable in his possession. He may be compelled to restore the property or the goods which he has taken from the other party, but only condition is that the same goods or property which he has taken from the other party by misrepresenting his age must be in his possession. It must be traceable. If he has converted it, if he has sold it to another person, then he cannot be compelled to restore it. So first proposition that was laid down, that if he has taken any property or goods, he may be compelled to restore it so far as it is traceable in his possession. And second proposition was that if he had sold it or converted it, he cannot be made to repay for the value of the goods. If he has sold it, for example, to another person and taken the money, he cannot be made to repay for the goods for the simple reason that it will be amounting to enforcing a void contract. If we force a minor to repay, if we force the minor to pay for the property or goods, then it will be amounting to enforcing a void contract. I have taken the goods and I am paying the money. So it will be amounting to enforcing a void contract, and therefore if he has converted it, it cannot be forced to repay the money. He can be forced to return the goods or the property so long as it is in his possession. The third proposition it was laid down that this doctrine of restitution is not applicable if the infant has obtained a cash money, if the infant has obtained money or cash instead of goods. If that, like in the case of Leslie versus Seal, this happened that the money, he deceived the money lender, he obtained some money, the action for recovery of money was not successful. On this ground only, the court said that this doctrine of restitution to restore is not applicable if the minor has obtained cash instead of goods, because we cannot identify the exact which note was given, which money was given, because this doctrine is applied if you have identified the specific property or the goods, it must be in possession. So in the case of money, you cannot identify the exact money or the goods which was in the possession of the minor. Therefore, if the minor by misrepresenting his age has obtained certain money, then he cannot be compelled to restore it. And for this reason, it is said that restitution stops where repayment begins. Where repayment begins, restitution stops. It is kind of summary of this doctrine of restitution, that restitution stops where repayments begin. Wherever the question of repayment will start, the restitution will stop. So this doctrine will apply only when there is no question of repayment. So this is the concept of restitution. This doctrine of restitution applies to English law only. In England, this concept originated. But so far as Indian law is concerned, in India we are governed by the Specific Relief Act. The law relating to it has been laid down in the Specific Relief Act and has been discussed also in the detail in the case of Mohri Bibi versus Dharmodas Ghosh case. So in the next lecture, we will first see Mohri Bibi versus Dharmodas case. We will see in detail what were the facts, what were the arguments and counter arguments given, what were the proposition laid down in the Mohri Bibi or Dharmodas Ghosh, because this is a very landmark judgment given by the Privy Council in the 1903. So in the next class, we will start with Mohri Bibi Dharmodas Ghosh and we will see the provisions given under the Specific Relief Act relating to restitution. Thank you.